These are the faces of just some of the young people who lose their lives on work sites every year. It's grief that unites their devastated families and a demand for change. They want real punishment for the companies who've let them down.
He went to work Wednesday morning, that was it. That was the last of our boy, and it's just not fair. It was our baby. He was our beautiful little brown-eyed boy, and our lives are never going to be the same.
Jack Brownlee is the boy who never made it home. His parents, Janine and Dave, left with nothing but this room full of memories.
To see your boy go off to work and know for a fact sometimes I don't come home.
A man in his 30s could not be saved and was pronounced dead on arrival by paramedics.
It's just started off as a nightmare and it continues to be.
With Jack that day was Charlie. Both tradies were crushed to death when the wall of a trench collapsed on them at work. He left behind wife Lana, now a single mum, fighting a battle against a system she says puts profits before workers.
Look, I wish I'd never had to see how terrible this system is. I wish I could have just lived on in blissful ignorance that basically we lived in a world that was okay. But we don't.
These families are part of a growing chorus calling for tougher laws that could send company bosses to jail.
There need to be real consequences to your actions, and if you choose not to follow the rules, you will be treated with accordingly. We're okay with that with our driving offences. We're okay with that for sexual assault offenders. Why are we willing to accept this type of behaviour in the workplace?
Trapped in a pit at the basement of a construction site after a crane lost its life.
Emergency crews to a St Leonard's construction site after a worker is crushed.
To lose their 18-year-old son, new to this industry, and to lose his life doing a job, it's atrocious.
It's every person's right to go to work and be safe, but too often it's not the case.
Employers have got a legal duty to provide a safe system of work.
This year alone, 83 people have died just doing their jobs.
They're not counting, fatalities that occur after 5 o'clock. In many cases, they're not counting work-related suicides. They're not counting mesothelioma, silicosis, any delayed deaths. They're all just ignored.
The two workers were digging a trench at a pipe-con construction site beside the Glen Elg Highway when the trench collapsed on them just after...
Today, Jack and Charlie's families are going back to the scene where they lost the boys.
How does it feel being here today?
It's not a nice feeling, just to look at the memorial stand. It's not nice, and to look over, you can see the site where it all happened.
And the work just kept going.
Yeah.
Work just kept going. 2 days later, they were back at it.
Jack's parents hoped that WorkSafe investigators would treat the site of their son's death like a crime scene.
After they retrieved the boys, the trench was filled in 4 hours later.
4 hours?
4 hours, yep. And we can't get an answer on why. Now, that was a car accident. If that was a car accident, they would cut off the whole of the scene.
And one of the lawyers, he said to me that it's not WorkSafe's position to crush companies. But in this situation, this company crushed my boy.
WorkSafe has charged the company under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but Pipecon is fighting back. If found guilty, the business faces a maximum penalty of $3 million.
But financial penalties don't always hurt businesses because there are actually insurance policies available to protect companies against some fines.
So ultimately no one's paid a penalty at all. A worker's life has to mean more than that.
Tony Burke is the Federal Shadow Minister for Industrial Relations.
And how do you tell a family that's lost someone when proper, safe work conditions would have kept them alive? How do you tell them that effectively no one was to blame?
They want you to go away. They want you to disappear.
Kay Catanzarini knows all too well how companies get off. Her son Ben died when a concrete boom collapsed on him 7 years ago, and no one has been held responsible.
It feels like a cancer eating away at you. a preventable cancer.
WorkSafe charged Swing Australia and one of its engineers, but the DPP dropped those charges.
I feel like a failure, to tell you the truth. The defence had the hide to ask the Chief Magistrate for all their legal expenses to be paid, and it was granted.
Swing Australia told us the failure of the crane bolts was attributable to the manufacturing process which occurred outside Australia.
That is a slap in the face to the families that have lost a loved one.
Liam O'Brien from the ACTU says there's already an industrial manslaughter offence that exists in Queensland's safety laws, but they want this extended to all states and territories.
The worst of the worst should face the prospect of serious jail time. Industrial manslaughter laws that carry serious periods of imprisonment up to 20 years.
If you're responsible for someone's death, then you should pay the penalty of responsibility for someone's death, and that's whether you do it at a workplace or whether you do it in a pub or whether you do it on the road.
Lana believes the first step is changing attitudes.
We have an intrinsic problem with workplace safety culture. And it's a real kind of she'll be right attitude. And it won't be right, and it's not right every day of the week. There's people dying.
I've pulled up lots of people that say they're workplace accidents. They're not accidents. These could be prevented and should be prevented.
PipeCon told us it couldn't comment while court proceedings are ongoing. The Victorian government has promised to introduce a new criminal offence of workplace manslaughter. The government's full statement and one from Swing Australia is on our homepage.